Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. I am Carrie Carter, the Assistant Director of the Margaret H. Rodabadian University Writing Center at Middle Tennessee State University. Today I'm excited to share some ideas with you about how to talk about writing. When you are talking about writing with others, it helps to consider how the writing process works, what writing terms you may want to use, and even what types of writers there are, yourself included. In fact, let's start by thinking about your own writing experiences. What experiences have you had with writing in the classroom? Take a few moments to write down some experiences that stand out. Explain how you felt and what you experienced in different situations. Pause the video here to write. Each writer is unique and brings to the table their own experiences, voices, languages, backgrounds, and so on. Some people may associate writing with a poor experience, such as failing a paper for a comma splice. Others may think about writing as a favorite activity, such as keeping a journal of poems. It's important to remember that writing is different for each individual. As someone working with others on their writing, remember to handle the writing with care. We should honor authentic voices and understand that each individual has their own writing experiences. We also have to remember that each writing situation is unique. The writing process is one way to talk about writing because regardless of each writing situation, we all experience these steps. Many people think that good writing is something that comes naturally, that some people were born good writers and others, well, they weren't and will never be good writers. This myth is typically accompanied by an idea that writing is easy, linear, and happens in one sitting. What if I told you that's simply not true? Good writing is a recursive process, meaning that writers move through the process in a nonlinear way, sometimes returning to steps as necessary. Even prolific writers, people who write for a living, for example, move through this multi-step process, write multiple drafts, get feedback on drafts. In the next few slides, we'll detail each phase of the writing process. Pre-writing, sometimes just called brainstorming, is a phase where a writer thinks about what to write and maybe even sketches out some ideas. It may include preliminary research, talking with a friend or peer about a topic or idea, outlining, listing, or anything else that helps solidify a general idea for writing. Some people are visual learners and enjoy mind mapping or webbing their ideas. This part of the process looks different for each person. While some writers need to talk about their ideas with someone else, others prefer to spend more time pre-writing in their head before they put anything down on paper. Others prefer a combination. The point is to encourage writers to try out different pre-writing approaches to see what works best. The next phase is drafting. This is sometimes the hardest part for writers because getting ideas down on a page can often be intimidating. Some people feel they have writer's block at this point. It's important to remind writers that the first draft should be far from perfect. Drafting should be putting ideas into sentences so they can be shaped up later. There are lots of tricks to getting a draft started, such as suggesting that the writer start drafting from their best idea or most important point, even if that won't be their first paragraph. Drafting can also lead to new ideas or might help writers see things in a different way. It's important for writers to be flexible and open during the drafting phase. Revising is a critical next step. This should be where writers get feedback on a draft to start making large-scale changes like adding or deleting content, reorganizing ideas, or adding in more research. Revision may take a bit of time, but is always worth it in the end. Writers often conflate revising with editing and only change a word or a tense here and there during revision, but they are missing out on an opportunity to revise holistically, and getting feedback is a way to begin those holistic changes. Editing should come toward the end of the process after all big changes have been made through revision. This might include fixing typos, changing a word or sentence structure, adding in missing commas, and other small-scale changes. Finally, the good part, publishing. This is where a writer shares the final draft with their intended audience. We draw the writing process as a cycle, but it's important to remember that it's not a perfect circle. For example, a writer may get to the revision phase and have to go back to brainstorming to add in more important content, and that's okay. Each time a writer follows the process, it may look a little different. Take a moment to read the Discovering Your Process handout and consider your own writing process. Then answer the following questions. What type of writer do you consider yourself to be? Does your writing process include aspects from multiple approaches? And if so, which ones? Does your writing process serve your writing goals? What are the strengths and weaknesses of your writing process? Do you think you might benefit from a different approach? What might you do? Pause the video here to think, write, and discuss. With each piece of writing, writers also need to consider the rhetorical situation. This is how a writing project and its purpose are positioned in relation to the writer, the audience, and even the world around us. Audience is the individual or group a writer wants to reach through the writing. It could be a single person, like writing to a state senator about recent legislation, or a group, such as an entire class. Considering audience will shape what and how a writer will write. How a writer might appeal to one audience may be very different from how they would appeal to another. Purpose is another part of the rhetorical situation. Writers must think about what they want their writing to do, such as inform people, entertain them, educate them, and so on. A writer can have multiple purposes for writing. Finally, there's exigence. This is what prompted the creation, such as a recent event or another text to which a writer is responding. Now that we've talked about the rhetorical situation, let's talk about the rhetorical situation writers encounter with their first university writing assignments. Students may be unfamiliar with some parts of the writing process, or may not have considered how different aspects like audience can shape the language they use, or even the organization of their writing. Students may need some guidance in walking through new writing situations and may need some help transitioning from high school to college level writing. Some high school students are used to writing the 5-paragraph essay. While this is a good foundation for ensuring the basic parts of a paper are there, students may need some help with the depth that college writing may require. Some ways to help new college writers include walking with them through assignment sheets and rubrics. Assignments may include some keywords that students may need to pay attention to. This might include required paper parts like a thesis or a conclusion. It may also include what aspects to pay special attention to, like formatting, style, citations, content, grammar, organization. You may also see different writing genres, which is essentially the type of writing expected, like discussion posts, reports, essays. Each genre comes with its own set of writing expectations. Students will also need help picking up on keywords that provide direction for the writing, like argue, support, explain, analyze, define, summarize. Each of these words asks the writer to do something very specific. Arguing a position, for example, is very different from comparing and contrasting two ideas. Finally, remind students it's okay to ask questions when an assignment is unclear to them. As mentioned previously, each writing genre comes with its own set of writing expectations. Think about 2 different genres you have composed in. How are they alike and different? What did you have to learn about the genre before writing? For example, I may consider a biology lab report and an English literary analysis essay. What makes each genre different? Choose 2 and pause here to consider. Understanding how genres are different can help students better envision the goals of their projects. Biology lab reports, for example, might include an abstract, a methods section, results, and discussion. I would probably not write a lab report to entertain my audience. I also might use passive voice, like the experiment was conducted, to place less focus on the experimenter. On the other hand, a literary analysis paper would not typically include passive voice. I might also be writing this paper to inform my audience, but of a very different subject matter compared to the lab report. The analysis paper might include quotes and paraphrases from the primary source I was reading. Students may need help considering this, just like we all do each time we are faced with a new writing project. It's important to remember that on any given day during the school year, students will be asked to write for different classes, and thus in multiple genres. We can best help students and prepare them for writing well in these different genres and disciplines by helping them to develop strategies to carefully read assignment sheets and ask the right questions, such as, what style guide does the professor expect? Are footnotes okay? What types of sources should I use? As you work with student writers, remember, handle their writing with care. Walk them through the writing process and help them understand how the rhetorical situation changes with each new project. Assignment sheets and rubrics can help writers locate keywords that can help shape their writing. Understanding key elements of different genres of writing can also help students reach their writing goals. The University Writing Center has resources that can help students tackle each new writing project. On our website at mtsu.edu/writing-center, choose the What We Do tab and find writing resources online to explore a variety of interactive worksheets and handouts. We hope this workshop has provided you with some specific language and ideas on how to talk about writing with students.